We're going to be looking at this tiny little farmhouse that's built in the style of old tenant farmer houses that you see quite often in Georgia. These are the houses that often get overlooked.
Think about how primitive we were talking about this house, but then those moments, these sweet little flowers, they're trying to make this house a home.
I'm Robert, and this is Adventures into History. Today I am in South Georgia at the start of the coastal plain, down here below the gnat line. Thankfully, it's a cold day, so we won't have gnats all in our face today. Now, you frequently would see houses in this style all across the more rural farming communities of Georgia, and these houses are, in my opinion, just as important to the story of the South as the big, fine, grand houses. Plus, usually they're super interesting to look at, have some unique architecture sometimes. Let's dive right on in. I want to give a big thank you to the property owner too for allowing us to document this house today. This house is actually completely overgrown all around it just a few months ago, and the property owner actually cleared around this house to allow us this amazing clear view. It's built out of round nails, so it's probably going to be an early 1900s house, something built probably in the 20s, I would say. But interestingly enough, look at this. There's old square nail holes in the wood, which tells us that this wood may have been repurposed from another structure, an earlier structure, being square nails in here, and repurposed for the battens. So this house was lived in until relatively modern times, but has been abandoned for at least 20 to 30 years, if not longer. And it looks like it was just kind of left as it was. At some time, the interior of this house was lined with this, I don't know, maybe 1970s wood paneling. Before that, it looks like it was just open walls with no interior boards. And this is just an extremely basic two-room house. Electricity was added at some point, but other than that, it is just as it was built. This is also a common design for Depression-era houses. These kind of tenant farmer houses generally date the 1880s to the 1930s. Check out this great big window that came from another building, but was repurposed for this house. And you got somebody else's rocking chair here. I've seen a little bit better days. Little sink in here, but no, it had a drain, but there's no plumbing run inside of the house. You notice the floor had big cracks in it, was not sealed tight. At the beginning of the video, I said that this is very typical of a tenant farmer house for this region. After looking at the house and really thinking about it on the inside, this house is even more crude and more primitive than some of the tenant farmer houses that I've seen before. Joy owns a tenant farmer house that we've visited before.
Originally there was a porch here. Not sure if it was covered, but that would have been pretty traditional with this style house, a porch all the way across, and it does seem to have had one at one point. Sometime in the 80s was the last time that anyone lived here. At some point it was wired for electricity, but it never did have running water. I think the fireplaces are really cool. So they would have probably, used this as insulation later, but before that they would have used some magazines, a different cardboard, and there's evidence of that in other parts of the house. A center chimney in this house, so 2 rooms, chimney in the middle, and then on the back there's a kitchen.
And I've actually done some work on keeping it standing because it's something that we want to preserve. And it is a mansion compared to this house here. So really interesting house. It looks like something that was just thrown up by somebody with some scrap wood.
I've always thought that my tenant house at the Hunting House property is very nice. I mean, for what it is, I've always thought. And it's a saddlebag with the chimney in the middle to heat both rooms, essentially. openings on each side, whereas this has, I don't know exactly what they call it. If it was a one-room house originally, it had its heat source on the end, and then that other room was maybe added later.
It was another thing that we were talking about on the inside was whether this other room that's more crude than this first room was added on later, but I don't think so. From the outside of the house, it looks like it was all built at the same time.
There was a stove because it was the kitchen.
Wood burning stove.
I was going to say, no heat source in that room would be odd for the same time, but that makes sense if this room was heated by stove. The people that own this house are related to me, I believe, because my grandmother's mother was a Hayes, and this was the Roland and Bessie Hayes house. And it's my understanding that they lived here like the entirety of their, I won't say entirety, but in their later years, they lived here. This was their home, and they owned this land. So did it start out tenant?
Well, that would be the question, whether this was built as a tenant house on this tract of land, and then, somebody else bought the property and lived in this house at a later date and time, or whether they built it when they bought the land and just built a very small house. After, walking around the outside and looking at it, I think that it's a Depression era house, and it was built with just the means that they had to build it with at the time. Even the tenant houses that we see, while they're very basic and very crude houses, they've often also, there was a carpenter involved in building them, certainly. This one just looks more thrown up.
What's interesting about this one too, compared to the tenant house on my property, is that this house, and this is kind of a funny distinction, but this house has hardware, whereas the tenant house on my property doesn't. It has like threading spools with wire to create doorknobs and different things like that, which I have read was something the owners did at tenant houses, so that when a tenant moved out, the hardware didn't disappear with the tenant. And so this house actually, so right here it has a very rusty doorknob, but it's got a keyhole and whatnot. On the other side, it has actually one of those really fancy, beautiful doorknob. And that's an interesting, actually, like clue potentially, that this house may have not been a tenant farmhouse ever, even though it's so humble, which is...
I think it was something that was built out of spare parts. One thing that's also interesting is that the chimney, whereas the house itself is very crude. We'll have to go back around to the chimney, but the house itself is very crude. The chimney is very nice. It's even got a little bit of style to it.
It's interesting. And it does look like this was all built together, not one room and then another.
I'll crawl back up in the attic and look.
You're going to crawl up in the attic?
I'll crawl up in the attic and look. We can't look under it really
I know.
well.
We can't look under the house. So sad.
That would be a good clue. The window was definitely added in from something else. We can see it had shingles on it at one point. It's got a tin roof now. I don't know. I'm saying 30s Depression. They got a small piece of land and built what they could. This has never been an extremely wealthy part of the state down here. It's not really that great farming land. It is all sand. Look at it. It's tiny. It's a step above a shed.
And no porch ever?
No porch.
Kind of unusual. Even the tenant house originally, my tenant house originally had a porch.
You see also it's on brick pillars. Of course, this is not a part of Georgia that has a lot of field stone. The bed is right here. You got the bed. Doors are very basic. We're very close to a farming community that was pretty wealthy at the turn of the century, in the 1900s, but then the boll weevil came through and, broke most people down here, and it started to decline after that. There was a bank in another town that doesn't exist anymore. It is a literal ghost town. It's been erased. That was a bank that never failed during the Great Depression, although I was also told that it was kept in business by people who made moonshine out in this area. So, I don't know if that's true or not. But so it's an interesting area in that there was a lot of wealth here. It really declined after the boll weevil, but there are a lot of these small houses around, a lot of very small, modest farming houses just outside of town where we are. This is the smallest though, so I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. There's not another one that looks just like this. Usually tenant farmer houses look a lot alike. This one's just, like I said, more primitive to it. It's got very modern round nails in it too, which I think is another thing that adds to that, 1930s Depression build. This side, it looks like they just never completed it. Maybe they didn't have enough wood to complete this side. We have, again, square nails in this beam here. So square nails, generally speaking, predate 1880. Now, certainly there were stores of square nails left over when the technology became available to build round nails. So you will see structures built into the 1900s with square nails, but generally speaking, it's, 1880 or before. Certainly with round nails, we know that they are the 1880s and up, when the technology was invented to make them, the wire nails. So we see that this wood, even these beams here, has old square nail holes in it, was repurposed from another structure. Again, we can see the roof, which has shingles underneath the tin. So I'm gonna go with it was originally a shingled roof, kind of that early asphalt shingling. So it's still got the shingles under the tin, so we know the tin was added later, which has probably helped this house still stand, because once the shingles go, but yeah, that's where I'm about to go. So I need you to grab this. I'm going to step on the chair and we're going to look up in the attic. And there just isn't anything up there, but I don't see any kind of design change. This was all built at one time. There's nothing that looks like it was added onto, so it was all just built at one time. The hardware on the door, it's interesting. It's just repurposed from something else, very industrial, on this little center door here. This is a nice rocking chair here. Did you get a shot of this rocking chair?
I haven't yet. I was more concerned with that glass window behind you.
Falling through it?
Yeah.
I feel pretty good.
Me and the rest of the viewers are stressing.
This rocking chair is very sturdy. I just want to point that out. This is a very sturdy rocking chair. Works great as a ladder.
I mean, is it ideal? No. Was it convenient?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a great sink.
Very nice.
Have we highlighted the sink? Because that's the kind of
Well,
thing I think
I made
is worth
mention of it,
noting.
but
Did you?
You go take a look at it.
Look at that thing. Thing of beauty. And what's interesting is there's a mirror here above it. So maybe they did their dish cleaning and their shaving. Plus the mirror, reflects light. So that's a nice decor choice. That door is amazing. All right, before we leave this room, I just wanted to note the cabinet on the wall with its pretty, look at that little ornate scallop up there and the way it locks. That little scallop detail and the way the cabinet locks, that's sort of just, sweet and made it home. Is that the bathtub?
I don't think that's original, but it is a bathtub. Storage for sure. My own great-grandparents lived in a tenant house until the 1970s, and there's people that have lived until real modern times in the old tenant houses. So.
Oh yeah, I think my tenant house was lived until the mid 80s, and it never had running water.
No closets of any sort in this house. Your tenant house actually has closets in it. This wood.
The chiffon-robes and the chest of drawers were.
So that's just flooring that was added in probably later for the roof. And this is flooring on the wall too, something repurposed from somewhere else. The mantel is, home built.
I was just noticing the curtains and just, the, not lace, but the frills, just to make it cozy, to make it home. I wonder which corner they put the Christmas tree in. And in the winter, they face the fire.
Mm-hmm. That's where, I mean, that's where she was sitting right before she left here. All the firewood still piled up there. There's one of the saddest sights I ever saw in an old house was a chair by a fireplace like this with a pile of wood beside it, and the person passed away in that case, and the house became abandoned after that. But you just have to think, and that house is a big old style farmhouse. You just have to think how sad it was, to be in that house, all elderly and in a cold winter. Now, what you know about stuff like this, Joy?
I'm old enough to remember having a car that had a 8-track. In fact, it was a beautiful green Dodge Dart.
Oh, well, we got to put an 8-track player in your ugly Dodge Dart.
Yeah, that's your.
Is that smoking the back?
And the only 8-track I remember having was American Pie, my dad's favorite song.
Who's that?
Tom Selleck. I don't know who that is.
I don't know.
It's not Tom Selleck.
Oh, it's Charlie Daniels.
Oh, gosh.
The Charlie
Don't
Daniels
come for
band.
me, Internet, for not knowing Charlie Daniels
Look at that, Loretta
by
Lynn.
sight. It's a
We've
good
come a
one.
long way, baby. All right. Oh, look, Johnny Cash at San Quentin. All
Oh,
right.
that's a good one.
Here we go.
Let's put that on right now.
Yeah, you got an 8-track tape player?
I'm working on it. We got to go talk to Ben Reeves. Surely Ben has an 8-track.
But does it work?
Well, listen. Beggars can't be choosers at this point. School days.
What does that say?
Galesville High, 1953-54. Where is Galesville? This might have been like a child who did it, who's, a grandchild who didn't live in the area.
Could be.
Look at that cute little outfit she's wearing. Precious.
Let's look at this chimney.
Okay. Do we need to take in, did you look inside the chimney here?
Nope.
Oh, wow. Hold on, let me do
It's
it.
just straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up. There's always at least one comment that says something to the effect of, did you check the chimney because people hid money in chimneys? And
What about some gold coin?
yeah,
Why was
I
it
don't
for gold
think that they had a dime to leave around here. All right, let's go outside and look at the chimney.
Sure. Sure, boss. I want to look at the mantle.
That's very nice. Oh, I thought that was a bird's nest. That's just a pile of nails.
Well, too bad it's not a pile of money.
No, yeah, a pile of money. There's a little power box. What?
I was just looking at. What is that bottle down there?
First aid spray for when we step on a nail in here.
Perfect.
The old house
See?
provides.
Exactly.
Look
GE,
at this.
General Electric, classic.
Let me open that up.
Not gonna open for you.
Guess we don't open that up. There we go. Oh, look at that.
Is there a date in there? Like, I was thinking like a service date, but maybe that's asking too much.
Yeah,
Service.
no service date. Let's go outside and look at the chimney.
Sure, boss.
Shaking the tree, boss. All right.
There's some kind of insulator thing.
FEMC number, this is from the power company, and that's where the meter would have been.
But up there, look how it's jerry-rigged up there. I don't know if you can see it.
The insulator, yeah. So let's look at this chimney here. So this is, looks nice. It looks like a nicely built chimney. If you look at the top, it's got a little bit of design to it. But once we closely inspect this chimney, maybe not. First of all, look how thick the mortar is. Typically the mortar on these chimneys is not that thick. Bricks are tilted this way, that way. So it's actually not that nicely built. It is more crude than I thought it was. This brick is, this is going to be late 1800s brickyard brick, not plantation era stuff, but still that soft late 1800s brick. So I don't know, older than the house, I think.
You think the chimney is older?
I think the brick is, but
Oh,
I
the
think
brick
that
is.
the chimney was built when the house was built. It's a very crude chimney. It just has some style. It does
So
have
they're
some
just
style, but
reusing, yeah.
yeah, crooked, stuff like that. Lots of mortar spillage over here on this side. Yeah, this was built with this house. I mean, we can just see how crude this is actually built upon further inspection. There's the gas lines, this copper right there. Gas lines went in the house where they had a propane heater or whatever outside to warm this place up. I guess they were still using that too. This is Depression era, poor farmers, just getting by with what they had kind of stuff going on here. There was also heard tell of a farmer nearby here that after the Depression and the boll weevil came through, that there was a farm over here that was selling the topsoil off of their land and it would be shipped off somewhere else, and that they were a literal dirt farmer because they were selling soil. But I don't know if that's true.
Grandfather who lived around here, I know that talking about selling dirt, he didn't sell dirt necessarily, but he got into all kinds of things. He was a farmer, cattle farmer. I think there was a dairy on the property at one point. He got into rabbits, selling rabbits. He trained hunting dogs for people. And what was interesting is in all the old papers, he would be sending out for brochures all over. Anyone who had any kind of business opportunity, he would look into it and save the papers, and sometimes he would follow up. Sometimes there are letters that he never mailed where he was going to ask for more information. They did what they had to do to survive.
They did. Well, I think this is a very fascinating house. It certainly, was a little bit different than what I imagined. We did look at this house some time back. It was completely overgrown. Again, big thank you to the property owner for letting us come out here and document this, and also clearing it around so we could actually see it. 'Cause
Yeah.
we couldn't see it before.
It's amazing how small it looks from the outside, but when I was in there, I was thinking about my grandmother's house, and when I go in there now, how small the rooms are. And I know how many people we fit in there around Christmas, just sitting on the floor and leaning against the walls and sitting in the chairs. And I mean, I think this house had a lot of life happening inside these walls.
I think so. I mean, I prefer older stuff, than this is, granted, but this is still a part of our history, out here in these rural farming communities where people didn't have a lot and they did what they could. And sometimes that was a house that wasn't much bigger or better than a shed.
Well, it's interesting to think if this was, and it likely was at some point, huge tracts of like a 202.5 acres, and then how people just, they make do generation after generation. Sometimes it's a big house, sometimes it's a really teeny tiny house. But
I believe that the owner said that when he got this house, he got 40 acres with it. It was supposed to be 50, but the railroad took some.
Right, yeah.
So they, whoever had this house owned 50 acres of land. You can't do that easily today. But back in that time period, right after the boll weevil comes through here, farms were just not profitable and were being sold for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, and
So-
even broken off and sold, original tracts are broken up
Right.
into smaller tracts, and that's kind of how they go out of the family, essentially.
And if this was a house that was on, like you said, a family piece of property, and they just cut out 40
And I
acres.
do think it was. I mean, the hays have been around here. If we went over to the cemetery, I mean, there's tons of hays, in the plots over there. So for this to have the last people still being hays, I mean, I think it probably was originally family land that was many, 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 many more acres than it ended up being right here.
I see a piece of treasure right down here. Look at this. Do you see it? Do you see it?
Oh boy. Oh, that's cool.
little, I guess, I didn't know if it was clay or glass. I think it's glass marble.
Is that one of those ones that will glow? Or
The
just
uranium marble?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been hit by the weed eater, but it's neat.
That's cool, yeah. Now let's see, and that just makes you think about the play that happened around here.
Yeah. All right, everybody, hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you on another adventure into history. It is crazy how this was so thickly overgrown. You couldn't even see this field when we were here and looked at this before.